Snow Brothers is the tale of Nick and Tom, the two princes of Snowland who are turned into snowmen by King Scorch while capturing their princesses Terry and Tina. His motive? To take over the world. How this led to capturing just two princesses and turning just two innocent people into snowmen is unclear. However, it's 1990 and we have mutant snowmen rescuing princesses, so no one is asking questions. The game was developed by Toaplan in 1990 for arcades worldwide. Toaplan was a prolific gaming company in the 80s and the 90s, developing arcade games within the company Taito before going solo. Snow Brothers was a huge hit for the company with great graphics and addicting gameplay. The gameplay itself is pretty simple. You traverse level after level, turning enemies into snowballs, and then you roll them away. You get power-ups to move faster, shoot farther, and shoot more snow, and once you kill all the enemies, you move on to the next level. Every 10 levels you encounter a boss, and eventually you work your way up to the final boss and rescue the princesses. The game is pretty simple, but it's addictive and one of my personal favorite retro games. The arcade version itself didn't get a real full rundown of the story. It was just simply two snowmen trying to rescue two princesses from a tower. The game was a huge success though, and it attracted the attention of the game company Capcom, who wanted to convert it over to the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Game Boy. Japan got the Game Boy version first in May of 1991, while the rest of the world got the NES version first in November of 1991. The Game Boy version was a bare-bones version of the arcade because of the hardware limitations. The game was now a single-player only, and the sprites and the levels were simplified as well, not to mention the game was in black and white because of, once again, hardware limitations. They did create a small story for the game though, where your mission was now to return the heart to the sun to make the whole world whole again. It doesn't make a lot of sense why a snowman would want to make the sun more powerful, but it is what it is. The NES version of the game is perhaps the most infamous version of all. The NES one was more similar to the arcade, allowing for two-player action and much closer to the arcade graphics. The NES version also saw the beginning of a story to form for the Snow Brothers with the introduction of King Scorch capturing the princesses. However, Capcom did not take this into account, and the arcade ending is unchanged, so the Snow Brothers never actually battle King Scorch. He's just mentioned at the beginning and mentioned at the ending through text, and he's been sent back to the mountain after rescuing the princesses. The NES version has reached peak rarity for collectors, with generally being listed in the top 10 rarest games of the NES, fetching prices of $700 in complete in box and nearly $200 for loose copies. The same year that the Game Boy and the NES version were released, the company Ocean was trying to create a computer version of the game for the Commodore Amiga, but sadly it never got a proper release even though being completely finished. This one was the most advanced when it came to graphics of any of the ports, and once again though, they changed the story. The series literally cannot decide what the story of the game needs to be. This version is a girl being captured by one of the earlier boss monsters, and then lightning strikes and brings a snowman to life to go on a mission to save her. But with all the overhaul to make him look like a snowman, they still use this slightly disturbing logo where the hero is clearly not a snowman. Now, rumor has it that this version of the game was developed without Toaplan's permission and had to be shelved due to copyright reasons. In 2006, a ROM was leaked though, and that was when the world first knew the reality of this game. While Capcom and Ocean were busy trying to get that 1991 console version out, Tengen was taking their sweet time on the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive version. The Sega version was the only one developed completely by Toaplan before being published by Tengen, and clearly took advantage of the upgraded graphics capabilities of the Mega Drive. This version is very close to the arcade, especially graphic-wise, but once again attempts to create the story of the Snow Brothers all over. This one begins with King Scorch capturing the two princesses from the Snow Brothers, who are already snowmen for some reason. Then the Snow Brothers go through the game level by level until they're able to rescue the princesses, and King Scorch appears and now captures the Snow Brothers, and you play as the princesses in an attempt to rescue the Snow Brothers back. The final boss in this version for the first time though is actually King Scorch, which is pretty unique to the series even though he is the main antagonist. Now this version was only released in Japan in 1993 and it never saw a universal release. At this point there have been 5 different versions of the same Snow Brothers game, all with varying stories but all pretty similar gameplay for the most part, and it seemed like the Snow Brothers franchise might be coming to a close. However, in 1994, Toaplan decided to release its final arcade game before going bankrupt, Snow Brothers 2: The New Elves. This game expanded the characters to include 4 separate elves, each with a different elemental power: snow, thunder, wind, and rain. The imagery of the character selection is disturbing to say the least, and it's a pretty far departure from the core series up until this point. The gameplay is fairly similar to the other games, and the story is even similar in the aspect that you're rescuing an abducted princess, but instead of being just 2 Snow Brothers going after their princesses, it's a team of 4 elves trying to rescue this princess. So this now means that the Snow Brothers are considered elves in this incarnation, which just means they still don't know what kind of direction they're going with the story. With the closure of Toaplan in 1994 and the mediocre success of Snow Brothers Part 2, it did seem like Snow Brothers had finally come to a close. And it had, for nearly 25 years. It wasn't until 2019 that the original game was resurrected to be placed on mobile devices. This is basically the arcade version with the touchscreen controls and in-app purchases. Literally the worst way to play the game possible. However, the original arcade version was a pay-to-win game itself, so perhaps the game has finally come full circle after all these years. Will there ever be an official Snow Brothers Part 3, or a full reboot of the series? It's unlikely. With the state of gaming we are in now, anything is possible. Comment down below which version of Snow Brothers you enjoyed the most growing up, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. But go out there, find a great game to play, and just as always, have a great rest of the day.